Some of the biggest names in rap come from right here in the GTA. And Haviah Mighty is an artist that you should look for. Her debut studio album won the Polaris Prize in 2019, and now the songwriter, vocalist, producer, and performer has a new project out. It's a mixtape called Stock Exchange, and it brings Haviah Mighty to our airwaves tonight from Brampton. Hi, Haviah. Nice to meet you.
Hi. How are you? Nice to meet you.
So you have a problem that a lot of artists would love to have. You have two cities claiming you, Toronto and Brampton. Which one is it?
Born in Toronto and living in Brampton, so it's both.
It's both. Okay, great. I have a little bit of a clip to show from your song "Protest," and then we're gonna talk about the mixtape. Sheldon, could you please roll?
Let's do it.
I got the over-the-shoulder look pat down. On me that the boy want track down. Whole squad pulled up, so they ran down. Locked doors, so the door get rammed down. When we see them, my art just sank down. It seems that the boy want crack down. Bro, man down. Y'all need to broaden your scope. Picture you got darker skin and broaden your nose. I be sick when I be thinking about the trauma we know. This shit is scripted, watch the drama unfold.
I mean, that is such, the visuals of that video and the song itself, I want to talk about it in a little bit, but I wanted to talk to you about the mixtape Stock Exchange. What is the story behind that?
Yeah, so the project Stock Exchange was initially not a project at all. I was just putting out singles in what I think was kind of the most chaotic time that many of us have experienced, which was the beginning of the pandemic. And in 2020, was it 2020? Yeah, I had a very momentous year. I had a lot of shows planned, and then everything kind of was canceled. So my year in particular just really kind of revamped because of the plans were really contingent on traveling and being able to do that. So these restrictions made that not possible, and I wanted to keep creating. And my idea behind that was like, let me just make songs. Like, I don't know what stories to tell right now. I'm staying at home via these orders. I'm not getting inspiration, but I know I can still make songs, and that was the intention. And I started putting these songs out November of 2020, month to month. So November, December, January. By February, I think that what I realized was a commonality between these releases was not really so much the thematic content of the songs, but the way it was received and the perception of it on the back end after it was released, and how that was impacting me and how I valued myself. Like, that really actually became the common theme. And I started to realize that it was almost like you're as good as your last release, and people value you based on kind of the content that you've put out most recently. And that was something I had to toggle with and understand, okay, numbers, stats, data, analytics, these things that that are related to the stock market that kind of tell us what the perceived value of a thing is. Those sorts of things are important to the business, but they do not indicate self-value. And I had to kind of create that distinction. And so a lot of the Stock Exchange project is me kind of toggling with that idea and kind of separating my self-validation from what people might think I should, like what numbers I should be getting, what streams I should be getting, and realizing that it is separate, and that, validating self really, really does come first. And that in itself will allow me to kind of create music that hopefully will achieve those data, stats, analytics, comments, whatever, that a musician would hope to kind of attain. But it was that struggle of not knowing how to validate myself at the beginning of that process.
It's interesting the word that you use, struggle. What did you learn about yourself during the process of making a mixtape, knowing what you just said?
The biggest things that I learned was, I think, a little bit of a balance. I think just kind of trying to not do music or work all the time. And like with the pandemic, of course, we were forced to be home. And so that kind of forced me to sit with myself, internalize thoughts, process thoughts, and not be as avoiding of kind of certain concepts or themes. I was not thinking about certain things that had to do with self, whether it was like my health or habits that I want to have outside of music, because I was just so busy with the music. I was just on the road all the time. And so that pivot helped me to like understand that life is about more than just kind of like that creative output. I can still very much value that and put that at the forefront, but like having that balance will also allow me to tell better stories and allow me to be more intuitive with self. So I think that's really what I learned over the last 2 years.
And why call it a mixtape instead of an album?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot of people there are distinctions that don't really exist anymore. It could be an album, it could be a mixtape. For me, I called it a mixtape because it was never intended to be an album. And so really for me, the intention behind it is that distinction for me. It was meant to just be singles. It was not meant to be a project at all. But because it became that, to me, it's a compilation of songs that kind of fit an overall theme, but they were not designed to be an album like, let's say, my previous works of 13th Floor was. And so for me, that is what made that distinction of mixtape.
I want to go back to the song that we played at the beginning, which is Protest. You once said that, quote, "My fear always as a Black woman is to write a song about my experience, but with too much of my opinion." Why did you feel like that?
I think I know what you're referring to. I think it's the fear of people expecting a certain message from me and therefore the message not being as impactful. I think that's what I was trying to convey with that. The fear is, as a Black woman, when I talk about racial issues that have impacted me, for some audiences, it's kind of like, oh, of course you feel that way, sort of thing. And then it takes away from the impact of the song or the important messaging in the song because the messenger is expected, let's say. And so I think I was referring to, I'm not sure where you pulled the quote from, but I think I was referring to 13 because it was a song that I wrote off of the last project talking
The 13th
about
Amendment.
the 13th Amendment. Yeah. But what was really powerful about that song was that I didn't feel like it was really my opinion. Like I had done some research, I'd come upon some understanding that can be found online. Like it has nothing to do with opinion. And it's I think one of my most powerful songs because the impact can't be removed by the messenger. You can't listen to that song and think these are opinions. It's very clearly like like something that was researched and thought out and put together. And so, yeah, like I just worry that like sometimes the message might fall on deaf ears because of the expectation of, well, maybe it's not surprising, I guess, maybe that messaging coming from me, especially at this point, me being as vocal as I am.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's interesting because you would think that because it's coming from you, it actually makes it more valid.
And maybe to some people it does. But I think I've seen enough comments on social media and stuff to know that for some people it's like, she only got this because of XYZ. Like, so there is a little bit of a kind of like a putting in a box. And I think maybe not being able to receive certain messaging from certain people because it's just like, well, I feel like it's coming with a bias, right? Like other people may feel it's coming with a bias because of my experiences. It's not coming with a bias. It's actually coming from a bit of deeper understanding because of my experience. But I think that can be interpreted differently. But it's not like enough of a fear that I don't talk about those things. It's just I really try to improve my songwriting so that the impact can be felt regardless of who the messenger is.
I grew up listening to rap music, and a lot of people have these ideas and perceptions about what rap music is. For me, it helped me find an identity when I didn't see myself anywhere reflected. You grew up in Ontario in a home full of music, and you even took singing lessons, I think, from the age of 4, but you weren't allowed to listen to rap music. How come?
I wasn't allowed to listen to rap music early on, I think because it was just a house of 4 young women and it was the 90s. So a lot of the rap music was not necessarily filtering content that I don't think my parents wanted us to see at that time. So I didn't start listening to rap until I kind of had like my own decision making when I started listening to my cousins' Walkman and when I started listening to the radio and
what drew you to it?
Access.
What drew you to it?
What drew me to it? I think the storytelling aspect, definitely, and like the realness and rawness of what hip hop represents. I think like for my parents, like they're not like super hip hop fans. Like they're more, my dad's reggae, my mom's reggae and R&B. So like that was kind of, and there was definitely overlap with what hip hop is, but it wasn't actually like hip hop until I kind of found that I was gravitating towards what I think is really the storytelling aspect of hip hop. It's just different than all styles of music in that you can really kind of get really particular with an experience, a story, whatever, in that genre. And that was something that I really resonated with.
Something that really bugs me to this day is that whenever you see the top 5, they're always like, who are the top 5 MCs? And you never see any women. And I'm like, where's Lauren? Where's Yo-Yo?
Right.
Do you feel that, you're one of the few female rappers in this country? Do you feel like things are moving in a more equitable direction in the music?
Based on my experiences and the fact that I've been able to kind of achieve more success I've been making music for a long time. And while I wasn't necessarily like monetizing it, or I didn't have a management team, or I didn't like understand how to put myself out there, like I was making music for a while. And so to finally have that music be received, like I don't know if that's just indicative of my own journey or the overall kind of journey or changes that are happening within music. I do think that there are some changes that are happening. I do think there are more opportunities for people that generally weren't able to occupy certain spaces in music to now be doing that. I definitely think it needs to change more. I think we're still, we have a lot of like music that I think we're kind of presented from bigger entities, but I think people want to have a bit more of a say with what is actually playing on the radio, what is actually like, from the comments and stuff on social media and stuff. People want change. Like people really do want that. And so sometimes if a market can demand something, then the industry will kind of have to shift in that direction. And I think people want different things. I don't think that they want the same formula over and over again. And so with that, I think we're seeing a little bit of that change and people like myself occupying space that 5-10 years ago it wasn't really going to happen, especially in Canada.
Well, in our final moments here, I know you're working on some things. What are some of the projects that you're working on?
Well, I have a tour coming up with the Arkells. I'm really excited about that. That's going to be in February, and so I had a little health scare in October, so I kind of took some time off in terms of performing, but I'm excited to kind of get back on the stage, especially with those guys. We played a few shows together. And while I'm at home resting and making sure I'm good to go in early 2022, I'm starting an initiative. It's a Black entrepreneurship initiative where I'm looking to be giving back, because I've received a lot of accolades. I've received, funding for my music output, and I want to kind of give back to other Black entrepreneurs that are creating and doing different things in different realms. And for me, I think one of the most validating things was receiving acknowledgement or funding for my output, for my art, and realizing that other people see value in it as well as myself. And so I kind of want to extend that as someone who is in a position now where I can do that. I'm excited to see more individuals doing things that they have only hoped and dreamed of.
Haviah, thank you so much for being on the program. It's exciting to see all the stuff that you're doing, and the mixtape is terrific. Congratulations on everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.